Hola, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning into another episode of Vibetalk, the King Soul and the Vibes official podcast. Today's episode, we are joined by Q, our friendly neighborhood sexy saxophone player and jazz flute player. He came in today and laid some sexy jazz flute and some sexy saxophone on our next single coming up, Unspeakable Things, and he absolutely killed it. So after he recorded, we sat down with him and we had a little talk with him, and we talked about his musical career. And we talked about music, first of all, and then his musical career, about the bands he's been in, and barns burning down, and all that stuff. So it should be a pretty good listen for you guys. Definitely would like to wish you guys a happy new year. Thanks for all the help that you gave us last year, 2016. Hopefully 2017 will be even better. So yeah, it's been a pretty cool start of the year. It's been raining really heavily out here in Los Angeles, which is a really good thing because we've been going through a drought for the last 5 years. So this is a real welcome cold and wet weather that we're having here. Yesterday the boys and I were at the NAMM show, and we checked out some really cool things and met some really cool musicians and saw some really awesome acts. Definitely would like to perform there next year. Hopefully we can make it happen. Please keep helping us out this 2017 to support us. You can stream our music. You can find our stuff on Spotify, on Amazon, and as well as Apple Music. We released our 5-song EP last year, Faraway Land, and you can hear it all on those streaming sites. Also, you can also find all our information on Facebook. Please find us out there. You can find us at facebook.com/KingSoulMusic. And if you could give us a like, that would definitely help us a lot. Also, you can listen to all our music as well as watch all our videos on our YouTube channel. Just search for King Soul and the Vibes. And please subscribe. That will definitely help us a lot. So without further ado, here is Q. Mics, guys.
Yeah.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
Yo, what up? It's King Soul and the Vibes.
Yeah.
For another edition of Vibe Talk.
What up, y'all?
Yo.
We're just chilling at the Vibe Shack again.
And we're here with a special guest today, Q,
Q1,
who plays
As opposed to
some
Q2.
magnificent saxophone and flute on our next single coming out, Unspeakable Things.
He was also featured in our EP, Faraway Land. You guys might have heard him on the song Super Faded, so that's who we're talking to tonight, guys. Q, welcome. Welcome to our show.
happy to be here.
So we were just talking about some of the experiences that we've all had as musicians. We're talking jazz. You guys happened to join us at the right time. We're having some pretty good conversations here. I'd like to know, Q, what was some of your influences when you first started playing sax?
Well, I would say the first one was Brubeck's alto player, Paul Desmond. And I got to meet the band, and because they were playing up at Santa Clara. That's up north of Santa Barbara.
Right.
Because Dave Brubeck's brother was the director of music there. And so we go up there, and we have seats in the very last row, you know. There's like 150 rows, and we're in the very last row.
Uh-huh.
But we're enterprising, so we go around to the back so we could go meet the musicians, you know, and go find them.
Well, I've done that
And
before. Yeah.
off in a practice room, there's Brubeck and Joe Morello on drums.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and the bass player, what the hell's Brubeck's bass player's name? Well, he's, you know, the take 5 riff. It was just,
Ron
you know,
Carter?
he just not Ron Carter, but I'll remember it as we go along. But they're all jamming in there, and we come in. We're 16 years old, you know, smoking cigars.
Yeah.
And Dave Brubeck says, "Oh, you guys got to quit doing that. You know, you're gonna ruin your lungs. You know, and especially your saxophone players. You got to have your lungs. You know."
So you met him and you talked to him.
Exactly. Yeah. So I got the distinction of having Dave Brubeck try to talk us out of smoking cigars.
Wow.
You know. And then we went in the back. So we said, well, "Where's Desmond?" They said, "Oh, he's up on the stage. He's in the back of the stage." So we go to the back of the stage. We talk our way, you know, past the guard there. And there's Desmond sitting there with his alto over his knees, and he's smoking a Camel. You know? So we're all smoking with Desmond, you know. And he's just like the coolest person in the world. And he's got this blue suit on, and his shoes are brown, and there's paint splatters all over his shoes, like he'd been painting that day, and, you know, just wore paint splattered shoes, you know. That's as laid back as you can get.
Yeah.
I think so.
So Q,
Yeah.
just a little background. Q's been around playing music since the 60s, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've been playing wind, mainly sax,
Yeah.
since when was your first band? What was your first musical group?
The first group was when I was 12. I was playing Barry sax because I got the Barry because I was the biggest, you know, I was 12 years old and 6 foot tall.
Wow.
So
Was that in?
I got the Barry.
In school.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They always assign you like according to what they want you to do. Like yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
In fact,
You have no choice.
Yeah, I went in there, and the musical director, I said, "What's the easiest instrument to play in the band?" Because I wanted to get next to his daughter, who played French horn. She was a junior fox, you know, in the 4th grade.
Right.
And he says, "Saxophone, that's the easiest," which it wasn't. But you know, but that's how I started, you know.
Wow.
And so I'm 12 years old.
To get to a girl.
Yeah, but being 6 foot tall, I could get into the bars,
Ah.
and you know, and as long as you
12
stay
years
on
old.
stage, yeah, you go from the stage to the dressing room and back again.
Nobody bugs you, right?
Yeah, they didn't bug anyone back in those days. You know, it was the '60s, and so you know, I had my first peach schnapps.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
my first drink.
At 12.
Exactly.
Wow.
Threw up all over the place.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So so that was a school group? There was a group in school.
No, it was with older guys.
Older
you
guys.
know,
Oh, I see.
guys that were
Okay.
18 to 21.
And how old
you
were
know.
you then?
I was 12.
You're
That was my
12.
first gig. I made $8 for playing 45 minutes, and I go, "Well, this is great. This is the thing." I'm going to be a musician.
What'd you buy with the $8 at 12 years old?
Probably, some candy.
Probably.
I thought he was
Exactly.
going to say my first drink.
Right.
Some more peach schnapps.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you went through school.
Yeah.
And did you go to college, or do you have any?
Yeah. Well,
College?
I was good at chemistry and physics in high school. They thought that I was retarded until I hit the chemistry class,
Okay.
and I went in there and aced the chemistry, and all the college prep kids were getting C's and B's. Right, exactly.
So maybe you can help us out.
In
We're
fact,
gonna hit you up later.
Yeah,
Maybe we can make some money on the side.
dig it. Yeah, for sure.
So going back to the music, so I know a lot of, and personally because I was in the school band when I was around that age too, around 12. But I know that a lot of people drop out. A lot of people just try an instrument and they're just kind of like, okay, it's not really their thing for a long time. They might last 2-3 years playing. But what made you want to stay on the sax? I said this is, and because like especially to where you've come to now, it's interesting to hear how you came about, getting into sax. So what made you want to stick with it and like just never drop it? I guess, or
I was making money.
it was the money.
So yeah,
Hey.
and the chicks.
And the
Yeah.
chicks, of course. Who can say no to that combination?
Money and
I didn't
chicks.
have to have any game. They would come up to the edge of the stage and say, "Hey,
Right, that's true.
So you go, "Hey, well, this is cool."
Yeah, I was talking. I think I talked about it in the first Vibetalk episode, but that's how I started too. I started playing and getting paid like shortly after I started playing, and I understand that
Yeah.
motivation. You're like, oh wow, because I was buying myself stuff when I was like 13, 14.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I couldn't have worked anywhere
Right.
else. But playing, it was like easy money, and I was
Yeah.
having fun doing it. So yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then after that group, what era was that? Was that in the 60s or?
Yeah, there was 60s and into the early 70s,
Uh-huh.
and
what'd you
I
get
went to
into after
college.
that?
I went to college. I got kicked out of college.
what college did you go to?
I should probably leave it remain nameless.
Okay.
I call it Jesus University. It was a Christian. It was a Christian college.
We'll leave it at that.
Okay.
There were 700 students there. I was the only one with long hair.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
so that's
know.
the uptight factor.
Yeah, and my girlfriend, who was a communist,
There you go.
she was a stone
That'll do
rebel.
it.
Oh, man.
That'll do it.
She was 17, and she wanted to take what we were taking, and we took morning glory seeds. Now, morning glory seeds have a hallucinogen like peyote.
Oh,
They're like
really?
LSD. Yeah, it was psychedelic.
I've heard about that. So what do
Yeah.
you do with the seeds?
You grind them up and you put them in capsules, and
you
it
just
said
drink 'em.
there's heavenly blue and pearly white morning glories. Yeah, and so we were taking them and getting off. I laid back and saw like a whole movie about a Martian city, and the whole thing.
Wow.
So she wanted to do it, and I said, no, you do not want to do this,
Yeah.
But while I'm asleep because I slept most of the day instead of going to class,
Yeah, right.
that
As you
kind
do
of
in
attitude.
college, as you do in
Yeah,
college.
exactly. And so, like, she went down and got some seeds and took them and started hallucinating and just coming on like who she was. So all the girls were sitting around, in their negligees in the dorm room. And she kicked them all out of the dorm room. You guys talking about the football players and there are wars going on, the Vietnam War, and all this, and you don't care about people. And she kicks them all out of the room and locks herself in. And of course they come, and they take the door off the hinges, and they call the men in white coats because nobody knew about psychedelics. This was early. This is before it was happening.
They didn't
so
know
they
what
put her
drugs
in a
were.
padded,
In the rubber
cell
room, huh?
for 6 months,
Oh, my
and they come
God.
to me and they say, you gave your girlfriend drugs because we know you're a druggie because you got long hair, you know.
Because you got long hair.
You got long hair.
And I'm going, I told her not to take them, you know.
Yeah.
They said, no,
Sure
we don't
you
believe you. You're out of here.
Yeah.
So they threw me out.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
But ultimately, I graduated from college cum laude. So, you know,
Wow.
that was, you know, I made up for it. For that early
Did you ever
wrinkle.
work as a
But that
chemist?
got me into the Navy, see. So, yeah.
So
but
you're in the Navy after that.
Yeah, but then I wanted to audition for the band, but they said, no, you got too good of grades in physics and math, so we need you in electronics. And they put me on the guns, you know, the missiles and that kind of thing. And that was, that didn't quite work out.
What kind of ship were you on in the Navy? I was also in the Navy myself.
I got within 2 blocks of a ship one time. But other than that,
So you
I
never
was a dry land sailor.
So you never went on Westpacks or
No.
2 blocks of a ship.
Wow.
No,
So you know what it
that
was?
Wow.
You were working on an instrument of death, but
Exactly.
you were meant to work on an instrument of life.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Makes
So-
perfect sense to me.
it was just the mismatch, I believe.
I liked
that,
everything about the Navy except its reason for existing.
right.
You know, I thought, and what I said, my suggestion to them all was, let's go over there to Vietnam and we bring the hospital ships and we heal people. And they'll be our friends, you know?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, that's a bad idea. Get the hell out of here.
They might not be as peaceful as
Let's
us.
go,
Don't shoot us.
Let's go blow them up instead.
Now, see,
Exactly.
I went in the Navy to gain a trade and get a job. My girl was pregnant at the time, and then I needed a way
Right.
to take care of her, of myself.
And that's a good way to do
and
it.
her,
Yeah.
you know. Besides the music wasn't really going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I need to get a regular job.
Right.
So that was one of my reasons of going in the service.
I hear you.
So we
Yeah.
had 2 veterans.
We get 2
Yep.
guys in the house. Yeah.
That's right.
So the Navy happened, and then were you still doing music while you were in the Navy, or?
Did you join the band
I would.
at all?
No, I tried to, but they told me I couldn't.
He was
What?
He's
I
too
tried
smart.
to join the
They
band
wanted,
too.
yeah. Well,
I tried to join the band too.
They
yeah.
wouldn't
When,
let you?
No.
when I
Why?
took the math test,
No.
they said no. You're too good at math. We got plenty of saxophone players, but we don't have that many mathematicians. You know? So they threw me into the electronics. You know, that's the way it went down.
I think Analog Kid
Yeah.
asked earlier, did you do anything with chemistry or?
Oh yeah, I worked for 3 years as an assistant chemist, putting the sections of freeways have what are called expansion joints, you know, because they expand and contract with the heat, and we made the chemicals that go between the joints, you know.
Wow.
And I had, because I'm the assistant, I had the job of cutting up
happen.
with a diamond blade saw. I had to cut up chunks of cement so that we could, you know, simulate the and man, when you're cutting cement, that blade really sounds like hell, you know.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
That was the roughest job I ever had, was cutting cement.
Wow.
At what point you go, all right, this is really not.
I'm saying I'm a chemist and I'm out here cutting cement. Say sorry, we need to do the tests, you know.
Yeah.
That's the way it was.
I see.
So yeah, but
Important job, though.
yeah,
Lives are at stake.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I went home one day, and my wife was working at you ever see those kids things in parks where they have a coil, you know, like a spring, and then
Yeah.
They
a
play-
little
they
horse
climb
they
on-
play on
Oh,
them.
yeah. They get
That
on
company
and-
that made those, she worked for those, you know.
Wow.
And I came home one day and I said, I had a revelation. We got to go to San Francisco and be in a band, you know. He said, what band? I'm just going to go up there and find a band, you know.
Right on. What year was this?
This was, it's got to be 70, 71, around there.
Wow.
San Francisco.
San
around
Francisco
that time.
around that.
It
That
was
was
happening.
really happening
Yeah.
back then in the
Yeah.
70s.
shit.
We were
West
there
Coast.
during the Summer of Love.
Yeah,
you know?
right. Yeah. the Flower Childs and
69, yeah.
Did you ever get to see the Grateful Dead out there? And
you definitely, yeah. Yeah.
Santana was out there then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that band, we were opening for Mothers of Invention.
Frank Zappa.
And and we would party with the Grateful Dead, Steppenwolf.
Did you already have a group by this point?
Yeah. Well, when I got up there, a buddy of mine who played bass, he said, "Hey, let's form a group." And then we went out and found a drummer who was a real space case. He was like long black hair. He looked like Jesus, and beard.
The drums,
and he just sat back and just wailed, So it was started with bass, saxophone, and drums. That's what we started
It
with.
sounds like a pretty
Yeah.
gnarly combo, yeah.
So, was it jazz? Or?
That's what we were doing, freak jazz, and the drummer's going,
dope.
"This is crazy," because he's a rock drummer. He's going, "This is crazy music. What the hell are you guys doing? What are you playing?" And so then we ran into a completely great composer, blues guitar player and singer, and he had been in New Orleans and he studied under some incredibly great blues singers, out of New Orleans, and he was roommates with the guy who wrote Bojangles, Jerry Jeff Walker.
Okay,
he roomed with him, and he just thought, no, it's just Jerry Jeff Walker, and then Bojangles took off, was a million seller. Hey, we know a famous musician.
Sammy Davis made that famous,
right?
Yes,
exactly. Yeah. And
great music out of New Orleans. Great music. I would encourage anybody out there if you want to hear some great jazz. Yeah, I have. There's some great.
No, my sister just
great
came
music
back
in
from
New
there,
Orleans. Great
summer.
music.
I might plan a trip this year.
Some of the best jazz and blues is from New Orleans.
He told me every 6 feet
absolutely,
there's a band.
That's the
Every 6
where it
feet
began.
There's a band.
Right?
And the bands are
it began
super fantastic. Blow every band out of LA out of the water.
I've
every
seen
6
some
feet.
good ones.
Right.
I've seen some really good bands
every
come
bar.
over.
It's every
and
bar.
they're really the LA musicians aren't shit.
No.
Yeah, they're monsters.
Yeah.
And and that's where he was also friends with what's his name, Dr. John.
Hell
Dr. John,
Dr.
Dr. John,
the best,
the
Dr.
Night Tripper.
John.
Yeah,
the best piano player.
Wow.
I walk on gilded slivers or something like that.
That's the song.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a real great experience in the
So what
Frisco
group
in the
was that?
70s.
What was it called?
Yeah. The group?
Yeah.
The Immaculate Contraption.
Immaculate Contraption.
Yeah.
So did you guys make any recordings?
Yeah, we did. We were signed by Mercury for a while, and we never. In fact, they took us down here to Hollywood, and Goffin, Jerry Goffin of Goffin and King, Carole King, and Phil Spector was going to produce.
Yeah, everybody knows
Phil
him.
Spector's on the other side of the glass, and we're going. We're in Hollywood. Phil Spector is producing. We're here.
Wow.
We're going to make it.
Yeah.
And well, it's a trip how we got screwed out of that one. But along the way, Carole King, took our lead guitar player and took her up to her mansion, in wherever, Beverly Hills or whatever. And she says, "I'm gonna show you the songs I'm doing for my latest album," And she sits down and playing piano, and it was called Tapestry.
I remember Tapestry album.
And that sold 17 million. Well, he comes back and he tells us,
Wow.
Well, she's a good songwriter, but she really can't sing.
Oh my
and
God!
Then it sells 17 million.
Right.
And he goes, "Well, that's why I'm me and she's Carole King."
Yeah,
Right.
17 million.
Oh my God!
But what happened was, our bass player, this tall dude, 6'4", lanky bass player, always hitting any woman comes within 10 feet of him. He was latching on, right? So the receptionist for Goffin's recording studio called Larrabee Sound, he
latched on.
He latches onto her, and we record, and we got all this. We got Phil Spector and Jerry Goffin, and Carole King is digging us, and all this, and we go back up to Sebastopol, which is up by Santa Rosa, an hour north of San Francisco, and we're in our house up there, and Jerry Goffin comes up, and he's about this tall, and he comes up and says, I'm gonna kill that bass player, I said, why?
My God.
He went to bed with my girl.
Oh my God!
That was it.
Yeah, well, that ended that, huh?
We hit the wall.
Motherfucker.
And I go, God damn, he
literally screwed.
He couldn't.
He literally screwed you out of the deal.
He couldn't keep it in his pants.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it was that just happened,
Yeah, things happen.
But actually, when I think back on all those trips, it probably saved my life because the cocaine and the drugs
really big
and stuff was had we had enough money to afford $10,000 a month, we probably would have spent it.
Blown a hole through your nostril.
So I'm still alive today because he screwed the girl.
Wow.
Well, I want to give him a shout out because you're on our record, and that's a blessing to us. We're privileged to have you here today, and it's actually a trip because I actually met Q. Q and I are how I introduced Q to King Soul and the Vibes, but I met Q through this amazing guitar player who actually played with us for a while. His name is Josh Martinez, and he brought Q around with. He said, "Hey, man." We were like, Josh is really like, he's an amazing guitar player. He's like a lot into rock. I wouldn't limit him to that, but I would say that definitely I think he was experimenting with, the reggae and ska genres once he started jamming with us. And he's like, I know this sax player that, just sound amazing if, we all got
remember
together.
that.
You remember that?
I remember that.
And it was in Atwater. And we got a little studio out there. And, Q came through. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I never really had like the privilege to jam out with an amazing horn player like that. And,
when I first heard Q, he just pulled out some lines. It was like some Coltrane stuff. It was just like, wow.
Was it your first time meeting him? Was the time he came here to record, right, for Super?
No, I met you. We jammed for a show, or I don't know.
Was that before or after?
I think it was right around the same time. It was like the same week we recorded.
That's right.
And we did a show. Right after.
That's
that.
right.
Yeah, and I never played with anyone quite as psychedelic as that. But so Immaculate Contraption.
Yeah,
what an awesome name!
We were also called.
Was that name conceived through psychedelics? Because that sounds amazing.
And our second incarnation of that same band, with a couple changes of players, was called the Dharma Bums.
Cool
and after that. After us, X number of years, like 10 years later, there was another group called the Dharma Bums.
Wow!
That actually had some minor hits, So they stole our name, which we got the name from the Ginsberg. I'm not Ginsberg, but a Kerouac book, called the Dharma Bums.
I see. And you were based out of San Francisco. Were you playing out there, or were you touring around?
It's mostly San Francisco.
Bay Area.
Yep.
I mean, Bay Area has definitely been center of music, for a long time. But right now, it's not anymore. Like, because it's so expensive to live there. It
is.
No poor musicians can't afford to live there anymore. So
exactly.
Sadly, the music out there has declined a lot since then.
Yeah.
I remember in the 70s there was this group, Tower of Power. And the horn section in that group was just, man.
The tenor player became the music director.
Unreal, man. Unreal.
He became he was the music director for Saturday Night Live. That tenor player.
Oh, yeah. You're right, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that group had
the drums
phenomenal.
Were astounding.
They're still going. They're still touring.
Tower Power's still going.
Yeah, I've seen them.
But in the 70s,
yeah, I bet that's the original.
Yeah.
They were happening.
They were smoking back then, man. Oh, my God.
No question about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good music from up in the Bay Area.
Yeah. And
MC Hammer.
Van Morrison.
Good name, brother. Good name.
Yeah.
Van Morrison.
Van Morrison lived up in that area, too.
Whoa.
Yeah. And his tenor player,
Oh, yeah.
definitely good, yeah.
All those classic hits.
Yeah. Totally.
So who would you say is your favorite tenor player?
Oh, there's no question about it. It's got to be Coltrane.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met him also when I was 16.
What?
I met Coltrane too.
You met Coltrane?
Yes, he was playing with the quartet, the classic quartet. McCoy Tyner, Elvin Jones, and Garrison on bass, and Coltrane. That quartet. And I saw him at Shelley's Manhole. That's the same place that I met Miles Davis. But
okay.
When they took a break, we said, because we're just punk kids,
right?
16 years old, and we said, "Where's Coltrane?" And they said, "Go down that hallway, and there's a door on the left." We go down there. We open the door, and it's pitch black back there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sitting back with his tenor across his knee, meditating. And he says, "Come on in, guys." And we go, we're saxophone players too,
Right.
Yeah. Can you just imagine that?
Oh, and as he's saying this story, I just took a hit of weed.
And he talked to us for 15 minutes. It's just the three of us.
That was
sitting
really
back
nice.
there talking.
That was, oh my God! That was
awesome.
I mean,
he took time out.
Can I touch your hand?
The saxophone,
right?
Saxophone on his lap, dude. Can you just imagine?
And we're like Mike Myers. We're not worthy,
Yeah.
We're bowing.
We're not worthy.
Right. Because a lot of musicians, they can be uppity, and that's their private time. And
exactly.
hey kid, come back another time.
Get out of here.
I'm busy right now. Yeah,
But these guys are so gracious. Yeah.
Wow.
So we were talking earlier. You said you also met Miles Davis, right?
That's right. In the same club.
In the same
Shelley's
club.
Manhole. Everybody played Shelley's Manhole on Cahuenga.
Here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Cahuenga. Yeah.
I see.
And also the Lighthouse.
That's right.
The Lighthouse in Hermosa Beach.
Yeah, Hermosa Beach.
Was famous
everybody there.
Everybody played there.
It was astounding. And, see, my sister, one of her best friends was Ron Carter, the bass player for Miles at the time. So that was her brother, you see. So my sister and Ron Carter's sister got together, and then so my sister introduced me to Ron Carter, and Ron Carter says, "Do you want to meet Miles?" So I say, "Yeah," and like you were saying earlier, Miles, he would get up and he would start to blow a note, and then they would turn on the lights so that they could take a picture of him playing. And every time they turn on the lights, so the Downbeat magazine, which was the jazz magazine at the time,
number one magazine at the time.
And Miles would just quit playing and turn his back to him.
Yeah, he didn't like
because he didn't like the lights in his eyes. Get the goddamn lights out of here.
Yeah.
And so I walk up to him, and Ron Carter is introducing me to Miles, he says, Miles, this is Kurt. And Miles goes, huh, you know, and throws his head back, you know.
Yeah.
He says, Kurt, this is Miles. And I go, huh. And he goes, all right. So, you know, I was a smart ass.
Yeah, because he had a very raspy voice.
Yeah, well, that's where he was coming from, and you know, so he could relate to it.
Wow.
But that was my, you know, it was a brief encounter with Miles. Yeah.
Wow.
Still, though, that's a legend. That's like, you know, how many like Miles are out there? I mean, whew.
Truly.
Yeah, so I know that there's a new guy in the scene right now, Kamasi Washington. Have you had a chance to hear him? Have you heard of him?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a local kid.
From
Inglewood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that guy can blow.
Definitely.
Have you heard his record yet?
No, not the whole thing. I've heard cuts on YouTube.
I recommend it. Yeah, really good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One of my favorites has always been Grover Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Is
that Yellow Jackets?
Love the way he played. Grover?
Grover was his own thing. Yeah.
He came from, there was a label called CTI. Mm-hmm. And him, Bob James, Sanborn, Harvey Mason, Steve Gadd. I mean, a bunch of different. They were all on this on this label. A bunch of great musicians, and they just happened to all be on the same label. And man, they put out some tremendous songs.
Really
good songs.
And I mean, he could take a commercial tune and really make it happen. Yeah. You know,
he was one of the first.
And really find the soul in it. You know,
he's one of the first saxophone players. Well, I forgot what you call it when you breathe and you play at the same time.
Yeah, circular breathing.
Yeah, circular breathing, and I was amazed. I was like, man, how did he?
Kenny G does that.
How do you
for
do
a long
that?
Time?
But you,
forever.
You're breathing and playing at the same time. You know, it's
exactly
incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah, that I never mastered.
That's super hard. Yeah, that's super hard to do.
Dig it.
Yeah.
So after the Immaculate Contraption and then the Dharma Dog?
The Dharma Bums.
Dharma Bums.
Right. Yeah.
What was your next musical adventure?
Then we did a group called Abraxas Rising.
Right.
And we had that name 2 years before Santana came out with their album, right? And so when we played Winterland, we got up there on the stage, and I was the MC for the band. And I came up and said, we're Abraxas Rising, and I know Santana has an album out now with the name Abraxas. They must be reading the same good books that we do, right? Because it came from the book, Damien. Abraxas meaning the god of good and evil. And Chapito was there, and he heard it, the timbales player for Santana.
He was in the concert.
Yeah, no, he was in the audience. And he heard us say that, and he got all pissed off at us, you know. He was going to lay down fists, you know.
Wow.
He's putting down Santana, you know what I'm saying? Well, that wasn't a put down, you know. It was a compliment, you know.
Yeah.
That just explaining that we didn't name our band after.
Maybe he didn't really understand completely.
No, he didn't quite get where we're coming from. And I'm sure he was
speak English well. You know what I mean?
That's
true. He was from Nicaragua.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He probably misunderstood you completely.
Exactly.
Tradition.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
That's what happened.
Yeah, but we were all love and peace, you know.
Yeah.
So somebody chilled him out, you know.
Yeah.
Cool.
Told him cool out.
So that was the longest band you had, right? Was it?
It was all of them lasted, you know, a few years. You know. Yeah, that was like a Chicago type band.
Oh.
Because we had 4 horns, you know, 2 trumpets, trombone, saxophone.
But rock.
Yeah.
Oh, with the
and we would do some Chicago tunes also. I mean, we had great singers. You know, the trumpet player was an outstanding singer.
Yeah.
It was too bad that that he had to go work. You know, and he had his wife and so on and so forth. And and the band burned down too. I had 2 bands burned down.
Burned down in what? Literally?
Like where we would practice up there in the country in Sebastopol, outside of Santa Rosa. You would practice in chicken coops, and in the winter it gets cold up there.
Yeah,
so you would have a wood stove. Now, if you have a wood stove and you have shake roofs, you know, all wood chicken coops, the sparks would fly out, catch the roof on fire, burn down.
Wow!
And when the first band, Immaculate Contraption, burned down, that band burned down.
So all your equipment and everything?
Yeah, everything went. Luckily, I took my horns with me. You know.
Right.
But
oh my gosh, maybe I should take my guitars.
You know, like the keyboards, the drums, you know, and the PA system.
You're right.
Wiped out, you know. And so then when the morning, and believe it or not, this is absolute truth, I'm having a dream in my apartment in Santa Rosa, and I dream that I'm at the barn, the practice room, with Andy, the guitar player, and Andy's sitting on an egg crate, and I walk up and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Because he's looking real down, and then I look over on the horizon and I see fire all over Santa Rosa, you know, and he says, "It's the end of the world." I go, "Really?" And then there's a knock on the door. Open it up, and there's Andy, right? And there's black smudges on his face. And he said, "The barn burned down." I says, "Oh, bullshit." Because they knew that my first group barn had burned down. He
Right.
"No, we're telling you the truth, you know. We got out of there just in our underwear, you know."
Oh, because they were
living in the barn.
Wow.
And the same thing happened, you know, wood stove, shake roof, burned down.
Wow.
And I walked up and I saw the keyboard, you know, I saw the B3, and I says, "That's the B3. Here, when you're looking in the ashes," I says, "because I've seen one of those burn up before, you know."
Yeah, right.
I recognize
I'm sitting here cringing.
Oh my God, it happened twice.
Exactly, twice. Can you believe that? You just wouldn't believe it.
That is
Wow.
And I had a goddamn dream, you know.
And you had a dream about it.
Right, except it wasn't the barn burning, it was Santa Rosa burning. We're sitting at the barn.
See, and you know what? It all makes sense because you're recording here with us.
Dig it.
And it brought you all here. Maybe
everything that happens, it's just like, it segues into this.
Maybe something will happen.
I hope nothing burns down.
Not quite a barn burning
had a
down.
barn burning down.
So I'm very paranoid of fire.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
You would, yeah.
I can imagine.
I was sitting here cringing thinking about that B3 on fire. I was like, you know what I would do with a B3, boy.
Exactly. Right.
But I was thinking like how different it was back in those days because Santa Rosa, that's in the Bay Area. Living in a barn and playing music out there is so unthinkable now.
Right now, it is unthinkable. Like,
people that
who
live
would actually
there
pull that
are
off? You need to. I think that what happened.
Multi-millionaires.
I think what happened. Is, you know, when the industrial, I guess, you know, area became big, then you think about all those flower childs from back in that day, and they all had to get. You know, I mean, like they mentioned it in movies and shows, and like, we all had to get jobs, man. You know, because everything nowadays. The reason why that's so like it seems like out of league is because everybody is kind of like the city is kind of like a magnet and you kind of have to stay within the city to survive unless you have some extraordinary measures to live, you know. That's why I'm like, I would love to do that, go in a bar and write music
for like
I
think for
those are the days.
Definitely you got to be in the city. You know, especially
yeah. You
know, or
even
like
though nowadays you
or,
could technically be in your basement making some really good music, and you can
I mean,
worldwide.
Yeah, for music it's a little bit easier because you know we don't have to for a comedian you gotta be like there every night. You gotta be like in the city, or if you're like playing live only and you're not making records, you gotta live in the city.
Yeah, or if you're doing both. If you're playing live, you really want to stay in the city because even though they might, you know, it might come across as like being saturated, which it is, you know, but still. But
if you're already big,
you depend on the city to kind of like get to people, you know, because I know, like, I mean, think about it. A lot of bands, they just, you know, they go to the big city, they go from big city to big city to big city. But, I mean, nowadays, you know, it's just a different lifestyle, like you were saying. You know.
Imagine Santa Rosa, like you're saying. The rent out there is so ridiculous. Anywhere near San Francisco is like so ridiculous that there's no artists left out there.
Right.
You know? Even in like.
Well, I think that also too, because if you do live there, let's say you're not a, you know, very rich person, extremely rich person, you're gonna have to work your ass off just to make ends meet. What music? When are you gonna have time to perform and record and practice?
Or make your art.
Your art. Period. Yeah, whatever it is that you do. You're gonna be invested in working and then coming home and crashing, like work, crash, work, crash.
Yeah. And you know what? LA is getting there.
It's getting there. Yeah, we're not too far behind.
It's so expensive already, but I mean,
well, believe it or not, we had a 5-bedroom house. There's a old farmhouse. You know, I mean, it was a bit ramshackle, but it cost us $90 a month.
Get out of here!
In 1970.
I hate you.
I mean, it was, you know,
and then we
those
paid
are the
$450
days
for our little. Have you been to our studio?
Yeah, he's been there.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Tiny. It's
exactly.
a shoebox.
It really
and
is.
That's $450 a month.
Right.
Yeah,
I hear you.
And that's like considered a good price. Like everybody I've told to, they're like, "Oh, that was a deal, man."
Yeah.
You know, like,
Right.
And it's literally
because it's in Burbank, though. It's in Burbank.
It's smaller than any of my bedrooms growing up, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's just the way it is now.
Yeah.
LA's a hard city.
Yeah.
It is.
Everything costs so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, we're out here and we're making it happen.
Surviving.
We find a way to not only survive but thrive. You know?
That's it.
You know, we find a way to make music. You know, and I know I could speak for the four of us. Like we don't stop making music no matter what. We've been doing music, and it's kind of crazy here to have two musicians who have been in the game for. And I'm kind of used to it, you know, because my grandfather, he was in music for it. My dad, talking about like 30 years plus in music,
because it's in your blood.
Yeah,
it really is in your blood. Sometimes when I think about other people's lives, I'm like, it's so you don't really reach that high level in life because you only reach it when you're performing or you know what I mean, you're playing.
It's kind of like a nirvana. It's a nirvana. It's a state of bliss.
Of being that you only reach.
That
totally
is very. I mean, and you know what? It's not just with musicians. I know people that I mean, it really
high level sports.
Through
maybe you can experience it like a team sport.
You can definitely experience that from other people.
In the flow.
Yeah, you
but
really.
I can relate
gel
to the
together.
music one because that's how
soccer.
I feel. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've enjoyed myself doing other activities plenty, but to say that type of nirvana, that type of just being in the present, being in the moment, and really feeling alive, music is the only thing that's ever. You know what I'm saying? Music and love. You know what I'm saying? Those are the two things that will make you feel like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, for me, and like I said, everybody has their thing that they do that makes them feel that way. But when you feel that way about something, whatever it is, and for our case, music, you just don't stop doing it because you just you're addicted to that feeling. You want to keep feeling that over and over again.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
When I first got into the music, I got in because I wanted to be famous and everything. That was my dream, to be a famous musician. But as years have gone by, the reason I'm in it because of the love of just playing and just writing and you know, music it never dies. It just keeps going on. That's the most beautiful thing I think about music is it's boundless.
Yeah,
it has no boundaries to it at all.
That's true.
And you can just evolve and go from generation to generation and just evolve with it.
Yeah,
you know, it's a beautiful thing.
All
so
the different
you know, here I am years later, still playing, but. You know, I'm at the point now where it's not so much important to be famous and be rich and successful about it. It's more the fulfillment and enjoyment just to play.
Yeah.
Truly.
And just to, you know.
Because, like you said, you know what it does? It brings you to the present moment. It brings you presence.
Yeah,
you're truly alive.
Because
you're truly alive. You're not thinking about.
You're
not stressing about the future.
Flow.
You're not reminiscing of the past. You're right there.
You're in the moment.
Yeah.
And that really is when human
moment.
beings are like any creature like really feels happy is when you're really in the moment.
I think that's really what a lot of people seek in life in general. You know, it's like that feeling. And like you said,
truly,
everybody has their own version of it. It's just, you know. We're sitting here. We all do music, and that's how we feel.
And you know, I felt that last Friday.
Oh yeah, we played a corporate Christmas party for Goldman Marketing Group, and we had a great time out in Royal Rehearsal in Burbank.
And that's what it's all about. Is you're just having a good time.
Yeah,
you're just having a good time. You know.
Yeah. It just happens, and then it clicks together. But
and like recording Q just now.
Yeah,
doing his thing. That felt great.
Yeah. Well, it's
money can't buy it. Can't buy those experiences.
No.
Yeah.
There's no amount of money in the world that can buy that.
It. You gotta go out and do it.
Yeah.
Money can't buy that.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
And I want to commend you on air.
Oh,
and let them know that you absolutely in 30 seconds was able to find my tone.
Oh, thank you.
You know,
and
like that kind of engineering is hard to do because I've worked with engineers, and some of them just don't get it. You know, and they're
because they're
good engineers,
musicians.
but they're not getting where the horn's coming from because the horn has a particular set of overtones.
You know what I think is guitar players make really good engineers because just to play electric guitar, you have to be an electrical engineer.
That's true.
You learn how to become an electrical engineer.
Because it's such a huge palette.
Yeah,
you know that you have.
So
you really get into there's so many tones. Yeah. Well, the electrical guitar is like the most versatile.
I just dialed it up like I would my own.
Cool.
So.
Yeah.
How would I do it if I wanted to sound like, you know, all sexy and all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead.
Your guys' what would you say your style is? Because I've played with you and like, you know, I played a lot of jazz and I played a lot of.
We don't have a
we don't want to be. We don't want to see a style.
Alternative.
It's
Q. What would you?
Yeah, if you had to like just kind
label
of
as
slap a name on it, label
create a name to describe it. What would you say?
Jazz, reggae, soul, truth.
You know? I love that.
Yeah. That's a style in itself.
Yeah,
dude, that's a style in itself.
It's all coming out of where you're coming from, you know.
Yeah.
It's definitely a unique sound.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Q. And like I said, you know, it's just a mixture of everything that, you know, these guys and I grew up around. We were talking about that in the first Vibetalk episode, but it's just, you know, it's so funny how just all these genres somehow we're able to fit it into the music, and it just happens naturally. We don't really plan it out. Dude. We just start jamming out, and all of a sudden it's like, you're like, wait, that's like samba, but it's like also like rock, I mean, but wait, what's going on?
Think about it. Think about it. There's 12 notes everybody who doesn't play music, there's 12 notes. There's only 12 notes.
Yeah.
And that's it. And most of the music you play is in one time signature.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? If you know how to play, you can really make some interesting stuff if you really want to.
But it's really unique, you know, what you're laying down. And the influences are like from everywhere, you know, from the islands, from the mountains, you know.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, it's a
city,
tropical,
you know.
My influences come
and the country.
Urban side.
Yeah,
my influence, like I said, you know, playing for so many generations, the influences that have been through my life, and as far as music, from rock and roll to Latin jazz to R&B to African music. I mean, it's just it's so much, that you can do with your influences,
and you bring it all there to blend. Yeah.
I like to say that the way that I think that I kind of started veering in that direction was from all the music when I grew up. It was just so overwhelming when you know, like, actually there's a lot of different genres here in the United States. So it was even like, just like how it was like the time period of you being in music and being into music for so long. For me, it was like the cultures clashing. Like, I came from Mexico, so many different types of traditional music. Yeah. So many, right, from one end to the spectrum. And because of my dad, I experienced them all, every single one.
Like,
beautiful.
Like, people out there where you came from, they don't even get into Western music at all. Right?
You know what? Actually, you'd be surprised because it's a very Eurocentric culture, even in third world countries like Mexico. So ultimately, you know, the bands that came from you know, England, and the bands that formed here, the rock bands, they're very influential out there. I grew up with, when I was in middle school, a lot of my friends were into, but these were, you know, teenage boys, you know what I'm saying? They were, you know what I'm saying? They got into it, but the grown people, they might know about the Beatles, maybe. You know, the older people might know about Santana and the Beatles. Right. But it was when I came, when my grandpa was also kind of like an outcast, and he was into, like I said, like the other time, he was into the Beatles and rockabilly and that kind of stuff. But it was when I came out here that I really got to have that transition of, like, because a lot of people, even though some of my friends, they do dig a lot of the, you know, foreign music, a lot of people do listen to only traditional stuff, and that's all I heard all the time. Even though I did have friends that are, like, into rock and stuff like that, what I heard most of the time was traditional Mexican music.
And that's really how it is. And I heard an interview with Omar from the Mars Volta, and he's from Puerto Rico, which is already U.S. territory, but he never even heard like rock music till he moved to Texas. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he was like,
when I came out here is when I really got, even though I had heard maybe by chance some of these genres before. When I came out here is really when I got into, like, funk and psychedelic rock. And that, there's a lot of traces in our music, actually, of that. You know what I'm saying? Because it was funny how I came from, like, that traditional, something like La Oportunidad, and then it went something, like, to Super Faded. That was, like, me coming to the U.S. is like, Super Faded. And then, you know, in Mexico, it was, like, La Oportunidad. Like, and my dad was a tropical music, like, fan, and he always listen to the very traditional stuff, like Tito Puente, you know, like Perez Prado, like old Cuban artists. So I grew up around a lot of tropical music. That in itself right there, we're all into reggae, and we're all into ska. So that in itself right there adds something else. And then you have people like Chris that are like I think he's the biggest fan out of all of us of certain rock music. And Willie is, you know, the biggest
fan out of everything.
This guy though, he's been wanting me to do it. He's been wanting us to do an R&B song and funk. He wants to bring the soul around.
Too, man.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely come up with some stuff.
I'm just as down for that shit as anything.
But I come from Led Zeppelin and
you do.
and
you do
all that too.
You've been to the tribute concerts with me.
The Ozfest, and Black Sabbath, and
that's what's up.
Right. I come from all.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You're
stuff.
not a traditional. You're not a one genre musician, and like neither is Analog Kid. Because Analog Kid's very open to the other types of music.
My parents were like that. They listened to everything, so they influenced me to listen to everything, and that's where I got it from. Because my dad had everything. I mean, everything you could imagine.
Yeah,
he had it. As far as music, and that's what made me be so open-minded to music. You can't get closed into just one aspect of it. It's so much out there that you have to open your mind to everything. And be appreciative. Like a lot of young kids today, they don't appreciate jazz because they can't hear it.
No,
they can't. I don't know.
They don't feel it.
They've been feel it or
whatever. But it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
I think there'll come a day in the future, though, where they'll stretch their ears enough, to expand to that.
I would hope so.
Well, it kind of happens when we play because even though we're not,
I heard jazz come out of you guys, and that's for.
And we get the young kids to be like,
bad.
Whoa,
I'm telling you,
It gets weird.
What are you listening to right now, Q?
I like a Snarky Puppy.
Great.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Nice
For
bringing them up.
the up and coming kids on the block.
Cool. Yeah.
Trombone Shorty.
Yeah.
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 It's great.
And but I'm still. I mean, as far as like Miles and Coltrane. They started at least 6 different schools of jazz. I mean, they kept evolving. Through Bitches Brew and bringing in the rock and so on and so forth. In fact, one of my guitar players studied with the guitar player on the Corner, which is the Miles album.
That's what I was gonna say. I like weird ones like that one.
Yeah.
Dave Kramer was the guitar player.
Yeah, from Kind of Blue to that.
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of Blue to On the Corner.
Exactly.
And then there's another one that's even weirder that has like 2 songs on it. 1 song on each side.
Yeah.
45.
1 song on each side, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who does that,
Miles.
Who does
and Coltrane.
that, man?
Yeah, and imagine
That's
like
crazy.
Imagine the band was like John McLaughlin and
right.
Yeah, that's right.
Who's on drums?
Mahavishnu,
Buddy Miles, who knows?
No. Wait, was Buddy Miles?
Cobb?
Oh no, the drummer from Mahavishnu was Billy Cobham.
Yeah,
not Mahavishnu, but the drummers of Miles Davis.
Oh, Tony Williams.
Tony Williams. Tony Williams
was a great drummer.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of.
Absolutely.
He had so many great. Miles was so famous for bringing out young cats, 18, 19 years old, coming to the stage.
You know who started that?
Lenny White played with Miles.
Hell yeah.
Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock.
Exactly.
The great ones.
Yeah.
The list it's too long to mention.
Yeah.
He influenced so many.
It was astounding.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
And they just kept evolving,
Yeah.
In fact, like Miles, the guy who ran Winterland in San Francisco, Bill Graham, he was a promoter, and he had Miles third billing, and Miles goes, "How come I'm third billing?" He said, "I'm sorry, you're just not commercial,"
What?
And then Miles comes out with Bitches Brew, He says, "I'll show you a commercial."
Yeah, that's a commercial enough for you, yeah.
And he just ripped it up, you know? And he got first billing after that, Yeah.
That's one of those.
But
albums
that album had everybody
that
on
you
it.
gotta,
All your
all
your greats today are on that album.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Yep. Everybody was on there.
Yeah. Those were the days.
It was a who's who.
It was happening.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, people were into that kind of stuff because they had time.
That's right.
People don't have time anymore.
It's pretty fast past.
Yeah.
I was watching TV the other day, and there was the Victoria's Secret fashion show on.
Yeah.
And you know, not to mention the hot girls and everything.
Well, I'm glad you survived it, Willie.
Bruno Mars was on there.
Oh
my
did he
God.
kill it or what?
He killed it. He killed it, man. I mean, you know, he's kind of a throwback to, like, I want to say James Brown era.
Yeah, he is the SHIT, man. I'm telling you, he is.
But he's a throwback. I mean, he's doing stuff that he was influenced by.
Because it's legit.
Yeah.
Because the shit right now, I mean...
Legit never dies,
It's made,
gentlemen.
It's made by machines. I'm sorry to say. It's made by machines.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
he likes stuff that's made by hand. And so do we. So that's why you can tell. Like, a good performance that he does resonates with you because he does it by hand, not by a machine.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Great
Kids
great
can resonate
performance.
with machines
Yeah.
more than they can do with hands now.
I think they've been
so
hypnotized.
weird.
I think they've been programmed and desensitized. But that's a whole conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. So did you ever record with Abraxas? Did you ever do an album?
We did. Yeah. And I have some of those old recordings.
Did you make an album out of it? Or?
Yeah. They did. It was just a compilation album that was made years later after us, you know.
I see.
After we happened.
And it's on an LP?
Yeah, and I'm thinking, well, and when I hear myself play on it, I go, wow, I was really laid back in those days, you know.
We'll definitely have to sit down one of these times and listen to that.
Yeah, I wonder if I can find it on YouTube.
No, probably not. I doubt it.
Rising?
You'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised.
There's recordings of my grandpa who was in a band in Mexico.
They might. Someone might have done it.
Yeah.
And he's on YouTube?
And he's like,
And some hipster put it up there. And he's
like, I ain't getting paid for that shit.
Wow.
hipster put it up
Where's
there.
my royalties at?
Yeah. His
Far
music
out.
is being sold on iTunes. I found my grandpa.
Get out of here.
Wow.
And he's not getting any royalty. I was like, you better talk to your lawyer about that. Yeah, I know I'd be getting my money.
Man.
Far out. Yeah.
You know, it was a pioneering group in that day, so they got a lot of attention because when all this rock and roll and like rockabilly started becoming popular over here, like I said, Mexico's always been kind of like aware of the music that's going on up here.
Yeah.
And they picked up on that, so my grandpa was one of the pioneering bands who translated the music into Spanish. The same music, played it exactly the same, but just in Spanish so that people could relate to the message of the song, you know?
Yeah.
But it looks like, you know what, before I go into that, I want to thank you again, Q, for coming to record tonight.
You got it.
Coming to hang out with us and talk about good music. And, you know, we look forward to working with you in the future. So.
Real quick, Q, what are you up to right now? As far as music and stuff like that,
I'm working with my guitar player from a band that we had a few years ago called The Avenue, and he and I are kind of doing, what would you say, classical, experimental, modern kind of things. Modal. It's very modal.
Cool.
And he just starts playing, and I follow him. You know, he lays it down, and we, you know, we might add some percussion or something in there as we go along. But
right on.
You know, we're exploring at this point.
Right.
And it's like, you know, me being able to hear where he's, because he'll go anywhere. You know, he'll put in some chromatic changes or just, you know, go a tritone away from the key that we're in, and I got to be there in the next second. So it's real good ear training, you know.
Right.
That's what I was just about to say. I was like, that sounds like amazing.
Do you guys have any shows coming up anytime soon?
No, we're just recording right now. So
Great.
We're just searching for this new kind of space music, I guess you call it.
Sweet.
That's what it ends up being. But one thing I wanted to tell you guys, a couple of those bands, at least 3 bands that I was in, could have made it. Came very close to making it.
Right.
We were signed. We were happening. The thing, stick together. Hang in there.
Yeah.
Through thick and thin.
Right.
If you can hang in there through thick and thin, you got it. You know? And you definitely got your own thing happening. And that's what it's about.
Thanks, Q.
So
is that one of the hardest things is to hang together? And,
because when we were getting in there and people talking big money, and the money starts happening, and we're playing big venues like the Winterland and the Avalon Ballroom and all these places, Grateful Dead and we're opening for big groups, Buffalo Springfield and so on and so forth. We played I guess the biggest group we ever played for was like 50,000 people.
Wow.
In Oregon, and it was Vortex 1. They called it. There was no Vortex 2 because Vortex 1 got so wild because it was kind of state sponsored.
It's a festival.
Yeah, it was a festival. And Buffalo Springfield's there and so on,
Right.
And we got to play twice because they called us back, because that was the horn band,
Yeah.
And we thought, hey, we're happening, But then egos and
money and like you said,
and then getting burned down that didn't help.
Yeah, right.
Getting burned down
But we should have pressed through,
Yeah.
Fit in the Bay Area.
Hang in there, no matter what it takes. Hang in there.
Thank you for the words.
Thanks,
of
Q.
encouragement.
That's it. Yeah.
And coming from a musician like you, I know it means a lot to us. I know, I can speak for you guys right now.
Definitely.
Well, I thank you.
We definitely appreciate you, and the way.
Thanks for helping us out.
Down and helping us, and you really blessed our album.
You got it
with your talent. It's just amazing. People get who's that sax? Oh, I know that sax. You might not know that sax.
Yeah. Everybody out there, happy holidays. Willie Will.
Yeah.
If we don't get a chance to get back with you,
marry everything.
Marry everything. Yeah, all that.
Merry Christmas.
You guys have a great end of the year.
And,
absolutely.
Thanks, Q. And Happy New Year. Happy 2017 from King Soul and the Vibes.
See you next year.